to the most stringent building codes in the state could avoid $50 billion in losses from a severe hurricane. That's what we want to see, the kind of thinking we've got to be addressing. So we've got to understand that risk is only the first obstacle to reducing risk. Assessing it and understanding is the start. It's not the end. We know that exposure to hazards may be the primary driver of increased losses, but we can start developing the tools to address them. NOAA has a plan on how to deal with hazards, looking at historical hazards. Understanding risk is the first step. We want to make sure risk management is being done and motivates the decisions of individuals and institutions. We want to make sure that they're being motivated by fulfilling their goals, which are bigger than just mitigating risk. But planners who start now will be able to communicate how risk reduction enables all the stakeholders in our municipalities to advance their real priorities of economically viable, of safe, of healthy communities moving forward. And adaptation, the next slide please. Adaptation can drive that economic development. The reality is that adaptation can be a source of economic development, whether it's upgrading infrastructure to deal with rising sea levels, or stronger storms that are creating, or building against stronger storms that create construction jobs. Hardening our homes to hurricanes and floods create construction jobs as well, and doing these things are not only good for mitigating or, more importantly, adapting to climate change, they're good overall in today's climate as economic opportunities for making our communities safer, and they could reduce insurance rates and boost real estate values in the short term. Next. We need to not only be assessing our risk and thinking about through policy, through building, through other practices, how to address it. We also need to think about financing it, financing adaptation. There are many examples, but we know that competitive communities will probably be those that seize the opportunities as they arise. For example, using federal support for energy efficiency retrofits to make buildings more efficient and more disaster resilient. But that optimistic approach will need to fit into a comprehensive strategy to adapt and be integrated with policies at the federal level, the state level, and integrated into municipal budgets and our capital planning processes. Going forward, adaptive planning may be the critical determinant of regional economic competitiveness and cost of capital. This clearly argues to all of us for a more strategic approach, as you heard our two prior speakers talk about. Let me quickly see if I can wrap up with these two final slides. Question might be, why not wait to adapt until we have less uncertainty around climate impacts? I think we all know the answer, whether it's the American Society of Civil Engineers that have given American infrastructure a close to failing grade across the board. We are and we have been underfunding infrastructure maintenance for decades. Many local governments have heavy debt burdens that can only be repaid through growth. And at some point, limits to growth, like climate change impacts on water supply and extreme events, will make their way into investor decisions and credit ratings. That will have a profound impact on the cost of capital for communities and their economic competitiveness. The key is to act now, look at ways to address the more than $1 trillion in infrastructure needs that need to be met,